members of council, members of Senate, the chairperson of Senate, the principal and vice chancellor, members of the executive management and extended management, members of the UNISA academic community, colleagues, our students, ladies and gentlemen, Sanbonani, good afternoon, Molweni, Goeiemiddag, Dimadegwan. It does give me great pleasure to welcome you to Professor Sharon Thabo Mampane's inaugural lecture. Let me take the opportunity to acknowledge Prof. Mampane, the Acting Executive Dean of the College of Education and also the Commonwealth of Learning Chair in Open Education at UNISA. I also want to welcome Professor R.N. Nailon Marishane, who is the Associate Professor in the Department of Education Management and Policy Studies at the Faculty of Education, University of Pretoria, who will be responding to Prof. Mampane's inaugural lecture. I also want to take this opportunity to welcome the college leadership, her colleagues, friends present here this afternoon. I do want to say also to the family, you're all welcome and you are acknowledged for your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, as I take this opportunity to welcome you to the University of South Africa, the University of the Land, I do this at a time when we are subjected to stringent COVID-19 pandemic regulations that have also made this inaugural lecture take a different shape altogether. We have learned lessons from that, hence today we continue to do these inaugural lectures. We do appreciate though that we have now had the disaster regulations repealed, but that does not mean we should relax and lower our guard against this pandemic. COVID-19 pandemic has caused havoc in the way we do things. The years 2020 and 2021 will go down in history as the years which defined the new normal. Unfortunately, COVID disrupted economies globally and placed in disarray our social systems, and lest we forget the loss of life in ways unimaginable across the world. We as UNISA, of course, were not spared. We had lost staff and students, and more importantly, family members and our friends. Our major concern with COVID-19 pandemic was the impact it had on our ability to deliver services to our students. We have, though, through our learning management system, managed to deliver both the learning content and assessments in ways unimaginable. Our technology saved us and our students the extended academic years. Though these actions have helped, it does not mean these efforts were without challenges. You all know that UNISA is the longest existing dedicated and the largest distance education institution in the world, which was founded in 1873. We cater for the student population that is equivalent to 1/3 of all South African higher education institutions and constitute more than 90% of all the students enrolled in distance learning programs. Historically, this university is perhaps the only university in South Africa to have provided all people with access to education, irrespective of their race, color, or creed. Today, we also pride ourselves for having the first woman principal and vice chancellor in 149 years. This is indicative of our efforts to ensure that UNISA continues to be a transformative university in the service of humanity. I should also point out that next year, 2023, there are plans underway to celebrate 150 years of existence. As a comprehensive open distance and e-learning institution, CODEL in short, we are guided by the principles of lifelong learning, student-centeredness, innovation and creativity. Because of CODEL, we contribute to the knowledge creation, advancement of humankind, and development of a critical citizenry to advance global sustainability. We do achieve this through our learner-centeredness approach, which provides a long life learning in a flexible learning environment through interactive learning materials, thereby increasing access into higher education for most disadvantaged students, a point that was acknowledged this year by the Council on Higher Education. We also do pride ourselves in the development and promotion of our own staff so that they can continue to support our students and communities around us. We are grateful that this inaugural lecture is taking place within the context of our renewed spirit, in the context of our revised strategy, UNISA 2030, and our strategic plan. In some ways, Prof. Mampane's inaugural lecture has come at the right time. It is the time for the serious consideration of transformation ideals within the context of UNISA, our higher education sector, and South Africa as a whole. We are proud that today, UNISA continues to demonstrate the value of a strong cadre of professorship that is necessary to instill in our students critical thinking and analysis of the highest order. This is a very proud moment of every academic as it reflects one of the pinnacles of academic achievement. It does give us great pleasure that our ranks of professors is growing substantially, and we are able to view that such will also grow our research expertise in leaps and bounds in South Africa, our continent, and of course, the world. Ladies and gentlemen, in terms of today's proceedings, Professor Makwe will introduce Professor Mampane and will invite her to the podium. Prof. Marishane will then follow Prof. Mampane with the response without any further announcements. I now invite Prof. Makwe to the podium. Thank you.
Afternoon, colleagues, friends, family, and all people who have joined us virtually, grandchildren, children, proud parents and family. Yeah, me Professor Sharon Thabo Mampane. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome Professor Sharon Thabo Mampane into this event, into this occasion. Professor Mampane is one of us. She is in the Department of Educational Leadership and Management at the University of South Africa. She has trained district officials and school management teams members on mentoring and coaching during her career as a district official. And she has done this in many provinces, in Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, and also in Limpopo and also in Limpopo, where she trained managers and leadership of universities. At the University of South Africa, where she is, at our College of Education, Professor Mampane teaches school leadership and management to undergraduate and graduate students. In addition, Professor Mampane is a scholar of note. She has published articles in prominent journals. She has published book chapters, and also she has published conference proceedings. In addition, she edited a book for Van Schaick Publishers and wrote a chapter for Van der Venter's book on leadership and management. She is also involved in community projects, and one of those projects are the one that is under the Matthew Goniwe School of Leadership and Governance. And Professor Mampane, in that project, she's in charge of the Bachelor of Education, Early Childhood Development, and she trains facilitators for this particular project. She has supervised both master's and PhD students, and she has worked and she has conducted research on management and leadership. Mampane also has participated in other projects for childhood policy analysis in collaboration with the University of Fort Hare, and this project was financed by the Department of Higher Education and Training. And in this, and also it was also financed by the International Leadership Research Forum in Finland. She has participated in initiatives, Space 1 and Space 2 initiatives, which looked at the dynamics of space and location within the South African schools in higher education, and not only in South Africa, but in sub-Saharan Africa. She's currently engaged in a Women in Research project. That is a project that is sponsored by UNISA that examines the pandemic effects on school leadership and in general and problems that range from supporting leadership to ensuring high quality education. Her project is highly appreciated during this time of COVID, where everybody is dealing with everything new. And now it gives me immense pleasure and pride to introduce to you Professor Mampane, and I hope that what she will share with you will stay with you long after this inaugural lecture. Professor Mampane, over to you, and here is the community of people who are all gathered here to listen to you. They are gathered in virtual spaces in different places just to listen to your study. And I know that you'll make me proud. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, colleagues. This is indeed a great day for me. But I'll begin by expressing my gratitude to the UNISA management, beginning with Prof. P. Lenkabula, the Vice Chancellor. Also, thank Professor S.K. Ndlovu, the Vice Principal, Professor Mpine Makwe, the Acting Executive Dean, and Professor Nylon Marishani, my respondent. I would also like to thank the Associate Professor, the Department of Education and Management and Policy Studies, the Faculty of Education, and everyone in the institution. My greatest express and sincere gratitude goes to my late parents, Moloisho Jimaima Mampane, Malefeu Mampane, my brother Cyril, my daughter Tebogo, my son Malcolm, my grandchildren Makoshi, Mohau and Moahi, as well as my son-in-law Berry and my partner Glenn for their compassion and love for me. And thanks to all who are present. I'm thanking the academics, the administrators, the cleaners, the security guards, the students, and in addition, I would like to congratulate everyone who has been given a promotion to a more senior position. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to my friends, neighbors, fellow Mamelodi residents, and all my friends worldwide. I'm incredibly honored to be able to express my opinions on a matter that is essential to me, dear to my heart, and I assume to everyone in the world. Let me start by introducing the key concepts of my study, which is mentoring, leadership and management, contextual intelligence, and institutional success. Mentoring higher education leaders and managers for contextual intelligence is based on findings from two separate but connected studies, the meta-analysis and systematic literature reviews, which show how context and leadership and management interact within the higher education institution. For changes to be made using a context-bound approach, it is imperative for leaders and managers to understand how contextual factors affect higher education performance and the capacity to work well in a range of contexts. Various institutional situations will present problems, disputes, and dilemmas that always call for competence and contextual intelligent leadership and management. What do I mean by this? It means that there is no institution that will not go through problems. There will always be problems, there will always be disputes, there'll always be dilemmas. So for anybody to address this, he will need competence in contextual intelligence, leadership, and management. So an experienced mentor should be familiar with institutional practices and what people are capable of doing, because the institutional context is multifaceted. It is very complex and constantly changing. So when mentoring staff, the mentor should exhibit a positive and admirable personality, as well as an attitude that supports institutional attitudes and values. Mentor should always put advice into effect by communicating organizational goals to the mentees and informing them of the strategies that are implemented to ensure institutional success. It won't help an institution if the goals are only known to the mentors and are not known to the mentee. So a mentor who lacks contextual intelligence, leadership, and management abilities is unable to give guidance, and as a result, cannot mentor peers. So a good mentor prepares his mentees to carry on with their job without him. So when talking about mentoring, there is no way I can leave out leading and managing. And leading and managing can only be successful through mentorship in contextual intelligence. So leading and managing through contextual intelligence includes redesigning the organization to bring about improvements that will enhance the leadership and management environment. That is the environment of research and internalization, community engagement, teaching and learning, and social responsiveness and its impact. So the leadership and management environment ought to promote teamwork that results in the development of organizational culture, which is characterized by shared values, the needs of the mentees, the goals of the institution, and the vision of the institution. So institutional values will be lost if institutional development is not connected to the mentee's needs to allow the mentee to fit in the organization. When values are lost within an institution, there is loss of connection, and the leadership and management may feel like the organization is too complex to work in, making the institution stuck and unprogressive. Because if you cannot carry out your task as a mentor, obviously you'll feel frustrated and not feel comfortable to be in the environment. So it is the responsibility of the leader and manager to redesign the systems and procedures so that the mentee can connect and adapt without difficulty. A contextually intelligent leader and manager should inform the mentee of the organization's main mandate and the main rationale for its existence. Everybody needs to know what is happening within the institution and why certain goals are geared for. So it is very important that the mentee knows about this. So as part of the restructuring process, leaders and managers should put frameworks in place so that they should be able to support and encourage a collaborative culture that ties the institution to the larger community. Mentoring is a key concept in this study, in that, mentoring institutional leaders and managers definitely cannot happen without contextual intelligence. So the complexity of leadership tasks in higher education has reached a point where managers and leaders are unable to do the task on their own. So acquiring good leadership and management skills and succeeding in leadership and management require training in the form of mentorship. Meaning, once you mentor people and with regard to leadership and management, obviously you are improving the pool in the institution, and people now, it becomes easier for the institution to succeed. So coaching and mentoring individuals promoted to the leadership and management role should be provided by more experienced colleagues to enable leadership and management to acquire the most recent talents, the interest and understanding of leading and managing higher education. People need to be mentored because everybody, despite the fact that you have your own knowledge that you come up with, some of the things within the institution might not be known. And a good mentor will understand this. A good mentor will not go about complaining that people don't know this, people don't know that. But the good mentor will say, I know people have got their own interest, their own talents. For him to do is to work with those talents to improve them and make sure that the person understands leadership and gains the skills that are necessary. So through mentoring, contextual intelligent leadership and management can generate a pool of highly skilled, dedicated leaders and managers to inexperienced leaders and managers. So the development of contextual intelligence in leaders and managers is essential for successful leadership or management and should be provided through mentoring. A successful organization is defined by consistently achieving goals and realizing the vision to celebrate these successes. So if people are taken care of, they're given the necessary support, the vision will be realized. And everybody will be happy, will celebrate the successes that are happening within the institution. So a mentor needs to integrate the various viewpoints towards a shared goal as well as responsiveness to contextual dynamics. And this is what Marishani in his book of 2020 refers to as VUCA, as VUCA sphere of operation and influence. By VUCA, he simply means that there is a confluence of the dynamics of change as well as its influences. And this is very important. Now, let me come to the key aspect for people to become contextually intelligent, which is mentoring. Ideally, mentoring is very good for establishing relationships, and it should last for a long time and promote both professional and personal development between the mentor and the mentee. So mentored leaders and managers broaden their responsibilities and gain the ability to generate commitment, alignment, and direction. Meaning once you have mentored people, they find their responsibilities very easy. And they become very confident and they become committed. They commit without being forced to do so. And they have direction because they can also guide other people. Excuse me. So continuous lifelong empowerment inspires and offers improved chances for development. So mentoring can only be successful when there is complete trust, there is openness, and there is dedication amongst the two parties, the mentor and the mentee. So the mentor should be familiar with all institutional procedures and processes and should also know what people are capable of or incapable of. And it is very important because once you know this, once you know what the people is capable of, it's easy for you as a mentor to delegate tasks. And people who are incapable, it's also easy to support them, give them guidance, because nobody ever came to an institution knowing everything. So a mentor should exhibit an admirable and uplifting personality. This means that the person should be, should have warmth. People should feel free to go to the person, even when they have difficulties. And this person should also have some traits and ideals that are evident in his demeanor. So a mentor should constantly put their advice into action by communicating organizational goals to the mentee. So although mentoring is optional, because it's never done everywhere, but I think universities should formalize this kind of assistance because some leaders and managers lack the necessary skills. And they might be in that position, and without mentoring, They might be making a lot of mistakes and in the end feel threatened and insecure. So without mentorship, the organization will fail and workers won't be able to adapt to the ever-changing environment. So in mentoring higher education leaders and managers through contextual intelligence, every leader and manager needs a mentor. And this is a fact. We all need to be mentored. I don't think there's anyone who can say, I know everything. I'm a leader and I'm an expert in everything. All of us need a mentor to develop contextual intelligence in leadership and management. So the success of the individual as well as that of the institution should be the goal of mentoring educational leaders and managers. So leaders and managers should mentor staff members. Whether you are a lecturer, you are an associate professor, you are a professor. So the mentorship should be based on their needs and the goal of the institution. And the main aim is to achieve long-term organizational success. So to ensure that the mentee succeeds at the institution, a mentor must be aware of the mentee's background, the expectations, and the concerns, because everybody who comes to a new institution has got some expectation, and he comes with a particular background. He knows some things, and he's also concerned about whether what he's going to do will be what is needed in the institution. So it is up to the mentee to be aware, the mentor to be aware of this background. So the mentee should be able to connect with contextual intelligence, leadership, and management to achieve institutional goals because of the mentor's leadership and management skills and competencies. And of course, if you have a mentor who has got this contextual intelligence, it is easy to learn skills and to develop competencies. So no one is born knowing, like I said. Every mentee has knowledge and talents that can be used in many situations. So let us use the talents of everybody within the institution for the development and the success of the institution. We cannot use the talents of a few people. Everybody's talents should be used. So success at contextual intelligence and in leadership and management can only be demonstrated when people have achieved organizational objectives and when we have realized the organization's vision. So success demands both a mentor's conscious awareness and active responsiveness to the demands of the broader societal context as well as alignment with organizational dynamics. Whatever we do within an institution should talk to what is happening within the society. There should be an alignment. There should be a balance. We cannot do things that the community frowns upon. We need to work hand in hand with the community. So mentors need contextual intelligence to connect mentoring to leadership and management context and for organizational success. So the institutional environment, contextual intelligence in leadership and management, the goals for long-term performance should not conflict with one another. Like I've indicated, there need to be a balance. So with the understanding of leadership and management, connecting the mentee to the mentor skills and competencies for achieving institutional objectives is possible. So the number of employees who were mentored within an organization and the mentoring approaches that promote institutional goals should both be the evidence of contextual intelligence in leadership and management. This simply means that if you are saying that institution is succeeding, the goals are being achieved, you also need to show us evidence of the people who have been mentored within the organization. Obviously, we cannot succeed if a lot of people are not mentored and are not given the necessary support. So institutional context changes. It is very dynamic, it is volatile, it is complex, so one should know himself or herself, should know the organization and the mentee. So care should be taken to prioritize organizational interest and aims over individual ones. No leader should emphasize his own interest over that of the institution. Because once he does that, that means he's prioritizing his individual interest over that of the whole institution. So now, what do we mean by leadership? You know, we cannot talk about leadership without including management, because the two concepts, you know, are like two faces of the same coin. I've not been moving, sorry. They are like two coins of the same coin. Because management alone is insufficient, leadership is required, meaning the two go together. While management focuses on job execution, leadership focuses on influencing others. Remember, the main task of a manager is to make sure that people carry out their tasks. But we cannot work with this one only, because it means now people will be taken like machines. We have to be working all the time. We need to establish relationships which come through influence of a leader. So leadership is a combination of several elements. And these elements influence and transcend all contexts. I must here come in and say that leadership, you know, is very complex in that people define it very differently, because it is based on a number of theories. For example, when we look at these elements, the element of behavior, people who will define leadership based on the theory of behaviorists. And all of them are not wrong, but all of them, you know, not one of them alone is the exact definition of leadership. So there are also other theorists who will talk about the relationships. And somebody will define a leadership from the relationship theory point of view. Others will use the approach theory. The person is also not wrong. He's talking about leadership, but it is from one perspective, from the perspective of approach. Others will talk about leadership from competency or ability or skills, which is another theory. This is also another aspect, meaning that, you know, we have so many elements. People will talk about the knowledge theory, the personality theory, the practice theory. All these are elements of leadership. You know, they all belong to leadership. And then people sometimes, you know, argue that no, what you are saying is not leadership. It is leadership, but based on a particular perspective. So it is very important that we know that each of these elements has its roots in a specific theory, and that theory influences the particular view. And you know, all these elements, they cut like a projectile through leadership, and they radiate through people as they land in a particular situation, meaning every particular situation will determine which type of theory is used to explain leadership. So leadership is contextually intelligent insofar as it includes these elements. So anybody who can include all these elements when he mentors people is a smart person, is a very clever person. So such a person can connect individual to the circumstances in which they are found. This is according to Mpongose and Ngwenya. So organizations cannot advance without leadership, and both require emotional intelligence. You know, a leader who is not emotionally intelligent is a scary leader, because he's forever angry. And such a person who is not emotionally intelligent will forever be complaining about people, picking up, you know, faults in people because of lack of emotional intelligence. I have explained what is leadership. Now let me talk about management. Management, like I indicated earlier, is all about work. It is a specific type of work that is goal-oriented. its main aim is to make sure that people achieve their goals. Make sure that they follow policy and that policy guides their behavior. And to also make sure that there are resources. The resources are well catered for. The human, the financial, the physical, the technological, and the intellectual. All these are very important in management because they determine the structures within the institution, the activities, the services, as well as the processes. So leadership management nexus in higher education. Here I'm going to look at how do they link leadership and management in higher education. So leadership and management are complementary in the field of education. Conceptually, they stand for two sides of the same coin that jointly define the value of education, according to Marishani. Although they have various roles, strategies, and focuses, their organizational goals are the same. They are the same in the sense that all of them would like to see the goals being achieved. So because leadership and management are employed synonymously in South African context, they cause conceptual, theoretical, and practical ambiguity, like I've indicated with a leadership above, that people view them from different perspectives. So when leadership and management terminology, ideas, techniques, and practices are employed interchangeably, people are seen as disposable resources, causing instability in the organization. What do I mean by this? Meaning, we need to be very cautious when we use the two terms because it's only through management where we look at people and work and structures. So, and here, when we use management, it means we are looking at people as resources. And so we cannot say this is leadership, it is management. But when we talk about leadership, we'll be talking about influence, support, motivation. Because the two-way, and there is a two-way interaction between the leaders and the followers. So the call for capable leadership and management is that people should be motivated to pursue objectives ingrained in the institution's mission and core principle. So through active engagement and encouragement of mentees to perform duties, the leader advances in status. That is why, we always say this person is a good leader. These are people who are always constantly engaging people, encouraging people. In an institution where you find that few people are being engaged all the time, when we are called for a workshop, it's the same people. You are called for a function or a seminar, the same people. It does not help the institution, and it does not advance the status of our mentors. So flexibility and agility are very important because they lead to teamwork. They uphold good connections and they improve performance in formal activities. And these are signs, all signs of great leadership. So, according to Gerber and others, the leader has authority and power. What do I mean by this? You mean that a leader's position confers authority, meaning if you are having a position of authority, it was given when you were appointed to that position. So it is just a position of authority. Think of a situation where now the person, let's say now you are a professor in the institution. You cannot be going maybe to a stadium full of people and then try and maintain authority there. Your authority only happens in your position within a particular institution. But the ability to use authority is also earned within the institution. That means if people, listen to you and they take your authority, it means you have really won them. The people really believe in you. So if If you give people instruction and people, grumble and sometimes not do it, know that you do not have authority. As a result, leadership is the power that a leader or management gets from his subordinates. So powerful leaders are able to wield their authority and influence, and this authority is not acquired through a title, a job description, or to a position. Rather, every leader must make sure that he earns authority through his relationship with the colleagues, relationship with the community. That is how people become powerful leaders, because they have authority which is trusted, which is appreciated by the people he works with. So now, what is contextual intelligence? Contextual intelligence is the capacity to identify and diagnose the dynamic contextual variables inherent in an event or a condition, leading to intentional behavior modification with proper effect in that context. When we say you have contextual intelligence, we mean you are somebody who can pick up problems without being told by somebody or the grapevines that this is what is happening. You need to be able to can pick it up yourself. And then once you pick it up, also know how you're going to deal with it. And remember, one individual's challenges cannot be addressed the same way as another individual. Every person is unique. So if you have contextual intelligence, you will know how to support and also give a mentor such a person. So mentoring educational leaders requires the ability to communicate institutional goals, to set the tone for the institution's activities, and manage time effectively. A mentor who cannot manage time might not achieve the goals that are geared for. So what we mean here is that the mentor is somebody who needs to know how to plan properly. And planning can only occur when the person is doing it with a mentee. Because there people will agree on the timelines, on what should be addressed first, and what is of key importance, and the issues that are, very easy to the mentee. Also, address issues according to the strengths and the weaknesses of the mentee. So the institutional framework sustained into institutional goals and the contextual intelligent leadership and management should not conflict with one another. So the institutional environment may change at any time. And as they change, things become complex, they are unpredictable. Therefore, it is important to understand yourself as a mentor. If you don't understand yourself, 1 minute you are behaving this way, the next minute you behave in another manner. How will the mentor now, feel comfortable working with you? So the organization also needs to be known by the mentor as well as the mentee. The mentee needs to be known. So when you know the organization, you will know that this is what we need to do now. And you also, when you say you know the organization, you know the talents, the competencies, the weaknesses, the strengths of the people within it, and you know what should be prioritized in order for the institution to be successful. So the organization should thrive even after the leader has left. The people should be able to carry on the beneficial attributes of a leader in his absence. So if contextual intelligent leadership does not help the organization achieve its goals, the institution will not succeed. So I'm going to now look at the constructs of contextual intelligence. So contextual intelligent leadership and management needs that the person should recognize the knowledge boundaries. You need to know what are the boundaries. And you need to know how to apply knowledge within these boundaries. within the situations that are different than those in which it was first developed. Remember, issues will crop up that we were never, trained in or we were never mentored in. But if you have got contextual intelligence, you will know how to address a situation that is different from the one that you are familiar to. For instance, a highly skilled contextual leader or manager who has expertise in leadership and management talents can quickly help a newly appointed leader and manager who is struggling with a range of leadership and management issues and within particular situations. So development of contextual intelligence in leadership and management abilities require the following elements which are projected in this picture. This is now the behavior, meaning that, this figure shows that a contextually intelligent person relevant to mentor a leader and manager should be somebody who possesses hindsight, insight, and foresight. By hindsight, we mean you must have experience that is derived from the previous situation. You must have insight, meaning you should have knowledge and understanding of appropriate behavior needed to deal with the current situation. And you must also have foresight. That means you must have a sense of imagination of how to deal with a particular issue in a future situation. So in order for the mentee to adopt the same behavior, the mentor should model contextual intelligence for the mentee's influence. So the mentor's theoretical and practical perspective, his worldview or ideology, will enhance the relationship he has with himself, other people, and the outside world. And this should be used as competence or an approach for mentoring. Everybody has got his own worldview, his own approach, his own perspective. So it is up to the mentor to make sure that, he makes sure that it is transmitted to the mentee, especially if it brings about competence. So the mentor's, contextual intelligence is shown through analysis. Any mentor who can look at a situation and be able to analyze it and come up with creative ideas and also develop practical skills and abilities is somebody who is a contextually intelligent mentor. So such a person is somebody we can rely on to mentor new colleagues, because the knowledge that he has will be transferred to the people who are inexperienced in leadership and management. And a mentor, such a mentor also knows what people are capable of or incapable of doing. Creating a positive attitude is essential for mentoring others towards positive principles. Because you know what, if you have knowledge, you are very secure. You have got, confidence. And you allow people to voice their opinions. And in that way, people, see you as an open person. Somebody they can trust, somebody who's approachable. So as a result, the relationship will become very positive. So the mentor's personality should be positive at all times. It should show traits of and ideals obvious in his attitude. The way in which you behave towards people. That is your attitude. And if it is positive, people would, every time when they see you, they would like to really discuss issues with you. They would like to be with you. They can easily ask you questions. So attitude should be of always putting advice into action while sharing organizational goals with the mentee. Inform the mentee of the strategies that will be used. And take the needs of the mentee into account when developing institutional goals. Otherwise, leadership and management will not succeed, and the institutional values will be lost. So when values are lost, there is a disconnect with the organization. Where there is a disconnect, there are lots of conflicts. cliques within the institution, groups of people, these ones against that one, those ones, as if it's a football match where these ones want to win over others. So any disconnection to the organization may lead the mentor to believe it is difficult to lead and manage. When people are angry within an institution and they are in management, know that they have really disconnected with the institution. And this might lead to a stagnant and non-progressive organization. So mentees trained by a good mentor will carry out activities in his absence because they have really benefited from the mentorship. Because the institution will always have certain dynamics that demand change or reform, mentorship is crucial for the organization not to fail and for workers to adapt to the shifting environment. So it is the responsibility of the mentor to alter the systems and procedures to make it easier for the mentee to connect and adapt to, and to inform the mentee of the organization's main goals and the rationale behind its existence. Everybody should know that, when we are here in this institution, we need to be teaching. All of us needs to be teaching. All of us need to ensure that, we do research. All of us need to know that, we give out to the community through community engagement. We also attend conferences. We establish networks outside. This is all the things that the mentee needs to know. And the mentee can only know this through guidance. And he can also be able to achieve them when properly guided and mentored. Now, why do we link a contextual intelligence, leadership, and management? A contextually intelligent person recognizes the knowledge boundaries. You can never say, I know everything. That is not possible. You can never know everything. Because contextual intelligence says you have only the skill to can diagnose, identify, and come up with a strategy to address that situation. So, contextual intelligence, leadership, and management is a recognition of these boundaries and its application in situations that are different to those that we know. For instance, a highly skilled contextual intelligent leader or manager who has expertise would always want to see the mentee becoming an expert leader. He's not selfish. He's not insecure, thinking that the position he has is something that belongs to him only. This is what we mean by contextual intelligence. And a contextual intelligent person can set direction by encouraging acceptance of group goals. Remember, when we work within an institution, there are group goals. People are allowed to come up with their own ideas. They need to share. The vision should be shared. Everybody should have contributed towards it and in order to establish high performance standards. So mentees who are having such, contextually intelligent leaders and managers are inspired, they get involved, and they dedicate themselves to a common objectives because of the attitude, the personality, the knowledge, the skills, the behavior, the approach of the leader. So a contextually intelligent leader and manager should provide direction and act morally by inspiring, challenging others intellectually, and offering tailored support and consideration to everyone. As a leader, it's always good to see your mentees coming up with ideas that are challenging. It shows that, whatever you are doing with them is working. That means you are really inspiring them, and you are also, developing them intellectually through your support. So the competence and expertise in contextual leadership and management skills could empower others and assist them to realize their potential by allowing them to study leadership. So providing mentees with leadership for learning is necessary, according to Macbeth. And it gives power to the mentor to demand compliance and obedience from others. You know, when you are a good leader, even when you ask people to do things, they will easily do it knowing that this is the person who's forever, supporting us. This is somebody who is not afraid of a challenge, who also understands that we also have ideas and perspectives and encourages us to use them. So the basis of power for a mentor to have power, he has to use power as the context demands. Remember, you cannot use any type of power for every situation. So the power will be determined by the context. So according to John French and Bertram Raven, there are 5 bases of power, and these were developed in 1959. And this is legitimate power. All of us have got legitimate power. What does this mean? It means in my position as a professor, I've got the power to exercise, tasks within my position. Somebody is a teacher, he's got legitimate power. Somebody is an administrator, he has got legitimate power in his position. He has got the rights within that position, And because he was appointed in that position, he can demand compliance and obedience from others. If an administrator requires me to submit documents, I have to do it because he has got the legitimate power to do so. And then there is a reward power. A good manager, when he sees that people are working well, will reward them. Not only financially, through praises, telling people how good they are, how well they've worked. People should not only hear about how bad you have done, what you don't know. This is a good leader. He rewards people by praising them. Sometimes even coming up with little tokens of appreciation. And people, they are developed when they see such behavior. There is also what we call expert power. A good leader obviously has expert power. What we mean is that you know what you are doing because you have got knowledge in that particular area. My area is leadership and management. And if somebody comes to me, asking for help or ideas within leadership and management, I should be able to provide that person with the knowledge that I have. And I expect, I consider myself to have expert power because I've been doing this for years and I've been mentoring people through leadership and management. But sometimes as a leader, you are forced to use coercive power in situations where you see that this institution will not succeed. If I allow this person to continue doing this, being disobedient, then the institution will never achieve its goals. So here, the leader should exercise coercive power. And this can be used in different ways. People are sometimes given a warning. People are taken to the disciplinary hearings. This is what we mean by coercive power. And then there are people who have got the referent power. These are people, even before they speak, when they come towards you, you feel that referent power. The person has got appeal. The person is worthy of respect. And then it's so important that we all recognize our own sources of power and understand how to influence others and build leadership abilities. Because in using this, we are developing others who are all aided by knowledge and sources of power. So, understanding contextual intelligence in leadership and management is very important. And this has really touched my heart. That is why I decided on this. You need to have contextual intelligence. And if you don't have it, and it's not going to work in an institution. So contextual intelligence is all about people using their intelligence, looking at the situation, being able to diagnose and approach it in a manner that was never in his teachings. And the person should bring out his intelligence when addressing this. And this is derived from experience that he had from previous situations. So, 3 significant concerns emerge from Coetzee's definition of contextual intelligence. Coetzee states that the context or situation is excessive, internal, external, and personal factors give each event or occurrence its identity, meaning no one situation is the same as another one. There are situations which are internal, external, some are personal. These ones will tell you how to address the situation. So if you have intelligence, that means you have information that can be applied in practice, and it is informed by data. And your experience is very important as you mentor people, because you draw lessons from a variety of encounters that you have had. So in conclusion, I can say that mentoring through contextual intelligence enables leaders and managers in higher education to handle different difficulties, conflicts, and dilemmas that arise in a variety of circumstances. Leadership and management require professional and personal growth for organizational success, and it can be acquired through mentoring in contextual intelligence. So leadership and management are 2 sides of the same coin. They are interrelated. They can never be separated. It's like having a coin, getting into the shop and saying, today I'm using this side of the coin. I'll use this other side another day. No, they are integrated. They work as one. And it can be, leadership can be understood from a number of components that, like I've indicated, from your behavior, the influence you give, the approach you adopt, your competence, the skill you have, the knowledge you have, your personality, as well as what you practice. So in order to establish and maintain a collaborative culture that connects the institution to the greater community, a contextually intelligent leader and manager can restructure the organization and implement changes to improve the leadership and management environment. This means that it is impossible to separate the 4 notions of mentorship, leadership and management, context, and organizational success. I thank you.
Vice Chancellor and Principal, members of the University Management team, colleagues in the College of Education, the university community, gentle people. In my reply to Professor Sharon Mampane's brief and thought-provoking academic presentation, allow me to paraphrase Jane Austen's line of thinking followed in her introduction to Pride and Prejudice. This book is an English novel I read in high school 45 years ago. Its analogy to this presentation reads as follows. It is the truth, universally acknowledged and based on the existing credible evidence, that a newly appointed employee in possession of good potential must be in want of a mentor. However little known the feelings, views, aspirations, and expectations of such an employee may be on their first entering a new university faculty, this truth is fixed in the minds of the surrounding old employees and senior academics, that they are considered a rightful property of someone or other of their colleagues rather than an indispensable organizational asset. The truth is that a qualified and newly appointed academic entering a new workplace is not like an empty dish or a blank foolscap flying up for grabs, as others may assume, but a helpful page with a mix of writings and gaps that need to be filled. They face a change from the known past to the new unknown present to join the organization on the way to its desired future. This common experience is not beyond our comprehension. It reinforces the view that knowledge does not cross borders. In her presentation, Sharon argues that a newly appointed employee in a higher education institution needs mentoring. For an institution to realize its express collective vision, which supersedes the personal goals of its employees, it needs to mentor its newly appointed employees through contextual intelligence by creating a link between mentoring, leadership and management, context, and sustainable organizational achievement. Sharon's argument suggests that mentoring through contextual intelligence is a fundamental institutional leadership and management imperative. This view resonates well with the demands of the 21st century context of university operation, characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which collectively require innovative thinking, intelligent decision-making, and quick context-informed actions underpinned by a synergy of aligned ideas and perspectives. It follows that mentoring through contextual intelligence, as both a theoretical construct and a practical strategy, defines an organization's sustainable success. As my friend Matthew Katz has said recently, the emergence of contextually intelligent leadership and management construct is fresh air on the theoretical leadership landscape. His view is supported in the academic discourse by the concern expressed by distinguished scholars who lament the disintegration of leadership theories and the pushing of context back into obscurity behind the shadow of leadership. And these scholars include Avolio, Hernandez, Eberly, Johnson, Hoffman, Lord, and Hallinger. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing with us and all colleagues present here today this novel approach to mentoring, a subject matter of significant academic interest.
Members of Council, members of Senate, Madam Principal and Vice Chancellor, members of the academic community, students, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the University Council, Senate, and the leadership of the university, please join me in officially welcoming Professor Sharon Thabo Mampane to the ranks of full professor at the University of South Africa. Prof. Mampane, thank you very much for the complex, instructive, and provocative lecture. It comes at an opportune time as we are engaging ourselves in curricular deliberations and transformation. We as UNISA pride ourselves as an African university shaping futures in the service of humanity. We are pleased to have you amongst UNISA's professors. As a university, we have embarked on a process and deliberate efforts to focus our efforts on 10 niche areas, and these are resource sustainability and energy research, marine and water resource management, natural sciences in the context of biotechnological studies, governance, management interfaces and reporting systems, automotive, energy, fourth industrial revolution and digitization, health studies and medicine, feminist, womanist, Bosadi theorization, and lastly, student support and co-curricular activities. As professor, we are relying on you and your team to ensure that we take these niche areas to new heights. On behalf of the Council, Senate, and University Management, I congratulate you on having achieved this academic milestone. Ladies and gentlemen, We have come to the end of this afternoon's proceedings. Considering that we are doing this lecture online, I am sure you have planned for the deliberations, for the celebrations of this day where you are. I hope you also stay safe. Good evening. Thank you.